Commander Jake Morrison stood at the bridge of the exploration ship Horizon's Edge, watching the massive alien world grow larger on the main screen. His hands were steady, but his heart was beating fast. After 3 years of space travel, humanity was finally about to meet their first alien civilization. "Sir, we're getting a signal from the planet," said Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez from her station. "They're speaking English." Jake raised an eyebrow. "English? How is that possible?" "They say they learned it from our radio signals, sir. They've been listening to Earth for 50 years. The main screen flickered and showed a face that made everyone on the bridge gasp. The alien looked almost human, but her skin was like crystal that changed colors. Right now it was a calm blue shade. She had 2 hearts beating in her chest, visible through her translucent skin. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the alien said in perfect English with a musical accent. "I am Princess Lyra Velteran of the Zalarian Empire. We welcome you to our world." Jake stepped forward and straightened his uniform. "Princess Lyra, I am Commander Jake Morrison. We come in peace, hoping to learn about your people and share knowledge." The princess smiled, and her crystal skin shifted to a warm golden color. "We have prepared a welcome ceremony at our capital city. Your ship may land at the coordinates we are sending." 2 hours later, Jake led a small team down to the planet's surface. The alien world was beautiful beyond imagination. Purple grass covered rolling hills, and 3 moons hung in the pink sky. The capital city looked like it was made of giant crystals that caught the light and threw rainbows everywhere. Princess Lyra met them at the landing platform. She was tall and elegant, wearing robes that seemed to be made of liquid starlight. Her crystal skin was now a happy golden shade, and Jake could see her 2 hearts beating steadily in her chest. "Welcome to Zilara Prime," she said, bowing slightly. "I hope your journey was comfortable." "Thank you, Princess." "Your world is amazing," Jake replied, trying not to stare at her unusual appearance. She led them through the city streets where thousands of Zalarians had gathered to see the aliens from Earth. Their crystal skin showed many different colors. Some were curious yellow, others excited orange, and a few showed worried purple tones. "My people have never seen aliens before," Princess Lyra explained as they walked. "Some are afraid, but most are excited to meet you." They arrived at a huge building that looked like a crystal palace. Inside, hundreds of Zalarian nobles waited. In a great hall, at the far end sat an older male with dark crystal skin and a golden crown. "That is my father, Emperor Thane Velteran," Princess Lyra whispered. "He is very interested in your people." The ceremony was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. The Zalarians sang in harmony, their voices creating beautiful music that seemed to make the crystal walls glow. Princess Lyra gave a speech about friendship between worlds, and her skin glowed brighter with each word. Jake was asked to speak. For humanity, he kept his words simple and honest. "We come from a young world, seeking to learn and grow. We hope our peoples can become friends and help each other." The Emperor stood and raised his hand. "Let this be the beginning of a new age," he declared. The crowd cheered, and their skin colors created a rainbow of light throughout the hall, but then something went wrong. A loud cracking sound echoed through the chamber. Jake looked up and saw that one of the huge crystal supports was breaking. The platform where Princess Lyra stood was right underneath it. "Look out!" Jake shouted, but the princes didn't understand. The danger. Without thinking, Jake ran forward and jumped onto the platform. The crystal beam was falling fast, and there was no time to explain. He grabbed Princess Lyra around the waist and threw both of them to the side just as the massive crystal crashed where she had been standing. They rolled across the floor, and Jake ended up on top of the princess, shielding her from the falling crystal pieces. For a moment, everything was silent except for the sound of settling debris. Princess Lyra looked up at Jake with wide eyes. Her crystal skin was now bright gold mixed with silver, colors he had never seen before. "You saved my life," she whispered. Jake helped her to her feet. "Are you hurt?" "No, but you could have been killed," she said, touching a small cut on his forehead where a crystal shard had grazed him. The Emperor and his guards rushed over. The Emperor's crystal skin was deep red with worry. "Daughter, are you injured?" "I am fine, father. This human saved me from certain death." The Emperor turned to Jake, and his expression changed completely. His skin shifted to a deep purple that Jake somehow knew meant great respect. "Commander Morrison, you have done something that will not be forgotten. By our laws, you have created a life debt between our families." Jake wasn't sure what that meant, but he could see it was important. "I just did what anyone would do, Your Majesty." "No," the Emperor said firmly. "You risked your life for someone you barely knew. This is the action of a true hero." Princess Lyra stepped closer to Jake. Her skin was still that bright gold and silver combination. "In our culture, when someone saves a royal family member's life, they become bound to us by honor. You are now under our protection, and we are in your debt." The ceremony continued, but everything felt different now. The Zalarians looked at Jake with new respect, and Princess Lyra stayed close to him, translating and explaining their customs. Her skin remained that unusual gold and silver color whenever she looked at him. During the feast that followed, Jake sat next to the princess. She told him about her world and her people. The Zalarians had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. They had two hearts that let them feel emotions more deeply than humans could imagine. "What do the colors of your skin mean?" Jake asked. "They show our emotions," she explained. "Blue means calm, gold means happy, red means angry or worried, but some colors are special." She looked down at her hands, which were still that gold and silver mix. "I have never been this color before. What does it mean?" She hesitated. "It means deep gratitude mixed with something else. Something I don't have words for in your language." As the evening went on, Jake found himself enjoying the princess's company. She was smart and funny, and she seemed genuinely interested in learning about human culture. She asked him about Earth, about his family, about what made humans different from other species they might meet. "We adapt," Jake told her. "Humans are good at changing when they need to. We don't give up easily." "That is a valuable quality," she said, her skin glowing brighter. "My people sometimes struggle with change. We have done things the same way for so long that new ideas can be difficult." When the ceremony finally ended, Princess Lyra walked Jake back to his ship. The 3 moons were high in the sky, casting strange shadows on the crystal city. "Thank you again," she said. "I know you think you just did what anyone would do, but that's not true. You acted without thinking about your own safety. That is rare, even among my people." Jake looked at her glowing skin and her 2 hearts beating in her chest. "I hope this is the beginning of a good friendship between our peoples." "I believe it will be," she said. "But Commander Morrison, you should know that the life debt is not something we take lightly. It will affect everything that happens between us from now on." As Jake's ship lifted off the next morning, he looked down at the crystal city and wondered what the princess had meant. He had no idea that his quick action to save her life had set in motion events that would change both their worlds forever. 3 weeks had passed since Jake Morrison saved Princess Lyra's life. The human delegation had been staying in the Crystal Palace, learning about Zalarian culture and trying to work out trade agreements. Every day brought new surprises about how different the 2 species were. Jake had spent most of his time with Princess Lyra, who had become his guide to understanding her people. She showed him the great libraries where knowledge from 12-star systems was stored in crystal matrices. She took him to the floating gardens where plants from different worlds grew in perfect harmony. Most importantly, she helped him understand the complex emotions that Zalarians felt with their 2 hearts. "Your people are so direct," she told him one morning as they walked through the palace gardens. Her skin was a warm golden color, which Jake had learned meant she was happy. When a human feels something, they show it right away. We Zalarians often hide our feelings behind ceremony and tradition. Jake watched a group of Zalarian children playing nearby. Their skin colors changed constantly as they ran and laughed, yellow for excitement, orange for joy, sometimes flashing to surprise purple when they fell down. "Maybe being direct isn't always bad," he said. "No, it isn't," Lyra agreed. "I wish My people could be more like yours sometimes. The negotiations between the humans and Zalarians had been going slowly. The Zalarians had technology that could help humans travel between stars much faster, but they were worried about sharing it with a species they didn't fully understand. The human delegation, led by Admiral Kate Sullivan, was trying to prove that humans could be trusted with such powerful technology. They're afraid we'll use it to make war, Admiral Sullivan explained to Jake during one of their private meetings. They've seen what happens when less advanced species get technology too quickly. Jake understood their concern. Humans had a history of fighting each other, and the Zalarians knew this from monitoring Earth's radio signals. But he also believed that humans were ready to join the galactic community peacefully. That evening there was to be a formal dinner with the Emperor and his court. Jake put on his best uniform and made sure he knew all the proper greetings. Princess Lyra had been teaching him Zalarian customs, and he didn't want to embarrass himself or his species. The dinner was held in a great hall with walls made of clear crystal. The 3 moons of Zalara Prime shone through the ceiling, casting beautiful light patterns on the tables. Hundreds of Zalarian nobles attended, their skin colors creating a constantly shifting rainbow throughout the room. Jake sat at the high table, next to Princess Lyra. She wore a gown that seemed to be made of liquid starlight, and her skin glowed with a soft golden light. He had grown comfortable with her presence over the past 3 weeks. She was intelligent, kind, and had a sense of humor that reminded him of his sister back on Earth. "You look nervous," she whispered to him as the first course was served. "Eh?" "Little," Jake admitted. "I want to make a good impression." "You already have," she said, and her skin brightened slightly. The dinner proceeded normally for the first hour. Jake tried foods he had never imagined and listened to music that seemed to come from the crystal walls themselves. The Emperor spoke about the long history of the Zalarian Empire and their hopes for peaceful contact with humanity. Then Princess Lyra stood up. The entire hall fell silent. Jake looked up at her, wondering what was happening. Her skin was now a brilliant gold color mixed with silver, the same color she had shown when he saved her life. "Father, honored guests, friends from Earth," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the crystal chamber. "I have something important to announce." The Emperor looked surprised. This was clearly not part of the planned ceremony. "3 weeks ago, Commander Jake Morrison of Earth saved my life," Princess Lyra continued. "By our laws, this created a life debt between us. But in these past weeks, I have learned that the debt has become something more." Jake felt his heart start beating faster. He had no idea what she was going to say. "I have come to care deeply for this human," she said, looking directly at Jake. "His courage, his kindness, and his honest nature have touched both my hearts. Therefore, I wish to make a formal proposal." The hall was completely silent now. Jake could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. "Commander Jake Morrison," Princess Lyra said, her voice strong and clear, "I ask you to become my husband. I ask you to marry me and become a prince of the Zalarian Empire." The silence that followed was deafening. Jake stared at her, his mind racing. Marriage to an alien princess? He had grown fond of Lyra, but he had never imagined this possibility. The Emperor's skin had turned a deep purple, which Jake knew meant he was shocked. The other Zalarians in the hall showed colors ranging from surprised yellow to worried orange. The human delegation looked equally stunned. "Princess," Jake managed to say, I don't know what to say." "Say nothing now," she replied, sitting back down. "Think about it, but know that this is not just a personal request. If you accept, it would bind our peoples together in a way that has never happened before." The rest of the dinner passed in a blur. Jake could barely focus on the food or conversation. Admiral Sullivan kept giving him meaningful looks, but they couldn't talk privately until later. When the dinner ended, Jake found himself alone with Admiral Sullivan in his quarters, aboard the Horizon's Edge. "Well, Commander," she said, "that was unexpected." "You can say that again," Jake replied, running his hand through his hair. "What am I supposed to do?" "Let's think about this logically," Admiral Sullivan said. "The princess is offering you A marriage that would make you royalty in the most powerful empire in this part of the galaxy. The political advantages would be enormous, but it would mean giving up my life on Earth, Jake said. My family, my career, everything I've known. True, she agreed. But consider the benefits to humanity. If you marry the princes, we'd become allies with the Zilarians. We'd get access to their technology, their knowledge, their protection. It could advance human civilization by thousands of years. Jake walked to the window and looked out at the crystal city below. What if I don't love her? What if this is just politics? Do you think it's just politics? Admiral Sullivan asked. Jake thought about the past 3 weeks. The long conversations with Lyra, the way she laughed at his jokes, how she had patiently taught him about her culture. The way her skin glowed when she looked at him. No, he said slowly. I think she really cares about me. And how do you feel about her? I like her, Jake admitted. I like her a lot. She's intelligent and funny and kind. But marriage is a big step, especially to someone from a different species. Over the next few days, Jake thought about nothing else. Princess Lyra gave him space to consider her proposal, but he could see the hope in her golden skin whenever they met. The other Zilarians treated him with new respect. As if he was already royalty, he learned more about what marriage to a Zilarian princess would mean. He would gain the ability to live much longer, as Zilarian medical technology could extend human life by centuries. He would have access to knowledge from 12-star systems. He would help guide the future of both species, but he would also have to learn to navigate the complex politics of the Zilarian court. He would need to understand customs that were thousands of years old. He would be responsible for decisions that could affect billions of lives. What does your heart tell you? Princess Lyra asked him one evening as they walked through the floating gardens. Jake looked at her glowing skin and her 2 hearts beating in her chest. My heart tells me that I care about you, he said, but my head tells me that this is complicated. All important decisions are complicated, she replied. But sometimes the heart knows things the mind cannot understand. At night, Jake made his decision. He would accept Princess Lyra's proposal. He would marry her and become a prince of the Zilarian Empire. It was a risk, but it was also an opportunity to help both their peoples. But as he prepared to give her his answer the next morning, he had no idea that the situation was about to become much more complicated. He didn't know about the ancient laws that governed royal marriages, or about Princess Lyra's younger sister who had been watching everything with growing concern. The life debt that had started with a simple act of heroism was about to become something far more complex than anyone had imagined. Jake Morrison woke up early that morning, ready to give Princess Lyra his answer. He had decided to accept her marriage proposal after thinking about it for days. The decision felt right in his heart, even though his mind still worried about the complications. He dressed carefully in his formal uniform and made his way to the royal gardens where he was supposed to meet Lyra. The 3 moons were setting in the pink sky, and the crystal flowers were catching the morning light. It was a beautiful place for such an important conversation, but when Jake arrived at their usual meeting spot, he found someone else waiting for him. It was Princess Zara Veltaran, Lyra's younger sister. Jake had seen her around the palace, but had never spoken to her directly. Princess Zara looked similar to Lyra, but was smaller and had darker crystal skin. Right now, her skin was a deep red color that Jake had learned meant anger or strong emotion. Her 2 hearts were beating faster than normal, visible through her translucent chest. Commander Morrison, she said, her voice sharp and direct. I need to speak with you before you talk to my sister. Jake was surprised. Princess Zara, I wasn't expecting to see you here. I know, she replied, stepping closer. That's because everyone has been too busy celebrating my sister's romantic plans to think about the law. What law? Jake asked, feeling confused. Princess Zara's skin shifted to a darker red. The law that says if a royal family member is saved by an outsider, all unmarried siblings of that generation can claim the same right to marriage. Jake stared at her. I don't understand. When you saved Lyra's life, you didn't just create a debt with her, Zara explained. You created a debt with the entire royal family. According to the ancient code of honor, I have the same right to marry you that my sister does. Jake's mind was racing. But that doesn't make sense. I saved Lyra, not you. The law doesn't care about that, Zara said firmly. It was written thousands of years ago to prevent outsiders from gaining too much influence over just one member of the royal family. If someone saves a royal, they become connected to the whole bloodline. Jake sat down on a crystal bench, trying to process this information. Does Lyra know about this law? Of course she knows, Zara replied. She's known since the day you saved her. She was hoping the Council of Elders would overlook it because marriage between species has never happened before. But you don't want them to overlook it, Jake said, looking at her angry red skin. No, I don't, Zara admitted. My whole life I've lived in Lyra's shadow. She's the older sister, the heir to the throne, the perfect princess. Everyone loves her. Everyone praises her. And now she gets to marry the alien hero too? Jake could hear the pain in her voice. Princess Zara, I'm sure your people value you too. Do they? She asked, her skin flickering between red and purple. I'm the spare heir, the backup plan. The one who gets to smile and support my sister while she gets everything she wants. Jake was starting to understand. So you're claiming your right to marry me too? Yes, Zara said, her skin now a determined orange color. I formally invoked the ancient code before the Council of Elders this morning. They have to consider it. Just then, Princess Lyra appeared on the garden path. Her skin was a worried purple color and she was walking quickly. When she saw Jake and Zara together, her expression became even more concerned. Zara, what are you doing here? Lyra asked. I'm talking to our future husband, Zara replied with a small smile. Lyra's skin shifted to a deeper purple. You told him about the law. Someone had to, Zara said. He deserves to know what he's really agreeing to. Lyra looked at Jake with sadness in her eyes. I was going to tell you. I was hoping we could find a way around it. You can't marry only me, human, Zara said to Jake. My sister demands you marry her too. The law is clear. Jake looked back and forth between the two sisters. They were so different from each other. Lyra was calm and diplomatic, always thinking about others. Zara was passionate and direct, fighting for what she believed in. What happens if I refuse? Jake asked. Both sisters' skin turned pale. If you refuse either of us, it would be considered a grave insult to the royal family, Lyra explained. All agreements between our peoples would end, so I have to marry both of you or neither of you? Jake asked. That's right, Zara said. And if you choose neither, humanity loses its chance to join the galactic community. Jake stood up and walked a few steps away, thinking. This was not what he had expected when he woke up that morning. He had been prepared to marry one alien princess, which was already complicated enough, but two. Tell me about this law, he said. How does it work exactly? Lyra stepped forward. The ancient code of honor was written when our empire was young. It was meant to prevent political marriages from causing favoritism within royal families. If an outsider married just one sibling, it could cause jealousy and division. So the law says that if one royal sibling gets married to an outsider, all unmarried siblings of the same generation must be offered the same opportunity, Zara added. And if the outsider refuses any of the siblings, Jake asked, then the marriage cannot happen at all, Lyra said sadly. It's all or nothing. Jake looked at Zara. Do you actually want to marry me, or are you just trying to stop your sister? Zara's skin shifted to a surprised yellow, then back to red. I want the same chances my sister gets. I want to be valued and respected. I want to matter. That's not an answer, Jake said gently. Zara was quiet for a moment. I don't know you well enough to love you yet, she admitted. But I think I could learn to. You're brave and kind. You treat people fairly. Those are good qualities in a husband. Jake turned to Lyra. And you? Do you really want to share me with your sister? Lyra's skin was now a mix of gold and purple. I want to marry you, she said. If sharing you with Zara is the only way, then I accept it. In our culture, it's not unusual for important people to have multiple spouses, but it's very unusual for humans, Jake pointed out. We know, both sisters said at the same time. Jake spent the rest of the day thinking about this impossible situation. He talked to Admiral Sullivan, who was shocked but practical about the political implications. He studied the ancient code of honor in the palace library. He even spoke to the emperor, who confirmed that the law could not be changed without years of legal proceedings. What would you do? Jake asked Admiral Sullivan that evening. I would think about what's best for humanity, she replied. But I would also think about what's best for you. This is your life we're talking about. Jake went to bed that night with his mind full of questions. Could he really marry two people? Could he learn to love them both? What would his family on Earth think? What would happen to the relationship between the sisters if he chose this path? The next morning, the Council of Elders called for a formal meeting. Jake stood before them with both princesses at his side. The ancient chamber was filled with the most important Zolarians in the Empire, their skin colors showing a rainbow of emotions. Commander Morrison, the eldest council member, said, "You have been presented with a unique situation. The ancient code of honor gives you two choices. You may marry both princesses and become a prince of our empire, or you may refuse and return to your ship." Jake looked at Lyra, then at Zara. Both were watching him with hope and fear in their eyes. "I need time to understand what this really means," Jake said. "Not just the legal aspects, but the personal ones. If I'm going to marry both of you, I need to know that we can all be happy together." The council member nodded. "That is wise. We will give you 1 week to make your decision. During this time, you may spend time with both princesses to learn about what your life together might be like." As Jake left the council chamber, he realized that the simple act of saving someone's life had led to the most complicated decision of his existence. He was about to find out if humans were really as adaptable as he had claimed. The week that followed was unlike anything Jake Morrison had ever experienced. The Council of Elders had given him time to understand what marriage to both princesses would mean, but they also announced something that surprised everyone. They called it the trial of worthiness. "No outsider has ever been offered marriage to one royal family member, let alone two," explained Elder Korvax, the oldest member of the council. His crystal skin was a deep blue that showed his serious mood. "If you are to marry both our princesses, you must prove you can handle such responsibility." Jake stood in the council chamber with Princess Lyra and Princess Zara on either side of him. Both sisters looked nervous, their skin showing worried purple colors. "What does this trial involve?" Jake asked. "3 challenges," Elder Korvax replied. "First, you must solve a problem that has troubled our empire for centuries. Second, you must show that you understand the depth of Zolarian emotions. Third, you must prove that you can love both sisters equally while respecting who they are as individuals." Jake felt his heart sink. These challenges sounded impossible. What if I fail? "Then you return to your ship, and our peoples remain separate," the elder said simply. Over the next few days, Jake learned about the first challenge. 2 Zolarian colonies, Nexus 7 and Kepler Station, had been fighting over mining rights to an asteroid field for 300 years. Dozens of diplomats had tried to solve the dispute, but both sides refused to compromise. "The problem is that both colonies have valid claims," Princess Lyra explained as she showed Jake the historical documents. "Nexus 7 found the asteroid field first, but Kepler Station developed the technology to mine it safely." Jake studied the case files for hours. The legal arguments went back and forth with no clear answer. Traditional Zolarian law said that discovery gave the strongest claim, but practical needs suggested that capability should matter more. What would humans do? Princess Zara asked him one evening. She had been helping him understand the technical aspects of asteroid mining. "We'd probably find a way to share," Jake said. "But I know that's not how Zolarians usually solve problems." "Maybe that's exactly what we need," Zara replied, her skin showing a thoughtful orange glow. "A human solution to a Zolarian problem." Jake spent 3 days developing his proposal. Instead of giving the asteroid field to one colony or the other, he suggested creating a joint venture. Nexus 7 would provide the historical knowledge and exploration rights, while Kepler Station would provide the mining technology. The profits would be split based on each colony's contribution. When he presented this solution to the council, both colony representatives were shocked. "We never considered working together," admitted the Nexus 7 diplomat. "We've been fighting for so long, we forgot we could be partners." The solution was accepted, and Jake had passed the first challenge, but the second one would be much harder. "Zellarians feel emotions differently because of our two hearts," Princess Lyra explained. "We can experience complex feelings that single-hearted beings cannot understand. You must show that you can recognize and respond to these emotions correctly." The test involved watching recordings of Zellarians in various emotional states and identifying what they were feeling. Some were easy. Happiness made their skin golden, anger turned it red, sadness made it blue. But others were much more complex. Jake watched a recording of a Zellarian mother saying goodbye to her child. Her skin showed gold mixed with blue and purple. She's happy because she's proud of her child, sad because they're leaving, and worried about their future, he said. "Correct," said the examiner. "What about this one?" The next recording showed a Zellarian artist finishing a sculpture. Their skin was silver mixed with gold and orange. Jake thought carefully. They're satisfied with their work, excited about sharing it, but also uncertain about how others will react. "Very good. And this?" The most difficult recording showed a young Zellarian couple getting married. Their skin colors were constantly shifting between different shades of gold, silver, and pink. Jake watched it 3 times before answering. "They're experiencing pure joy, but also the deeper emotion of bonding that happens when two Zellarian hearts synchronize," he said. "The silver means they're creating something new together, something bigger than either of them alone." The examiner's skin glowed bright gold. "Excellent. You understand the dual heart emotional spectrum better than some Zellarians do." But the third challenge was the hardest of all. Jake had to spend time with both sisters and prove that he could care for them equally while appreciating their differences. Princess Lyra took him to the ancient libraries where she studied galactic history and political theory. She showed him star charts that mapped trade routes between dozens of civilizations. Her passion was understanding how different cultures could work together peacefully. "I want to help create a future where humans and Zellarians explore the galaxy as partners," she told him as they stood on a balcony overlooking the Crystal City. Her skin was warm gold in the moonlight. "I think together we could bring peace to many worlds that are still fighting." Jake found himself drawn to her vision and her gentle wisdom. She made him think about big ideas and long-term consequences. When he was with her, he felt like he could help build something important that would last for generations. Princess Zara was completely different. She took him to the combat training centers where Zellarian warriors learned to fight with energy, weapons, and crystal blades. She showed him the exploration ships that pushed into unknown regions of space, seeking new worlds and new challenges. "I want adventure," she told him as they watched a ship launch toward distant stars. Her skin was bright orange with excitement. "I want to discover things that no one has ever seen before. I want to push boundaries and take risks." Jake found himself excited by her energy and courage. She reminded him of why he had become an explorer in the first place. When he was with her, he felt like he could face any danger and overcome any obstacle. The sisters were so different that Jake worried they might not get along if they had to share a husband. But during the trial week, he began to see how they complemented each other. One evening, all 3 of them were in the palace library working on a problem together. Princess Lyra was researching historical precedents while Princess Zara was testing practical solutions. Jake watched them work and realized something important. "You two make each other stronger," he said. Both sisters looked up from their work. "What do you mean?" Lyra asked. "Lyra, you think about the big picture and long-term consequences," Jake explained. "Zara, you focus on immediate action and practical solutions. Together you cover all the important aspects of any problem." The sisters looked at each other. We never thought about it that way, Zara admitted. We usually just argue, Lyra said with a small smile. Maybe you argue because you both care about doing the right thing. Just in different ways, Jake suggested. Over the remaining days of the trial, Jake saw the sisters begin to work together instead of competing. Lyra would plan careful strategies while Zara would figure out how to make them work in practice. Zara would suggest bold new ideas while Lyra would consider how they might affect other people. Jake realized that he was falling in love with both of them, but for different reasons. He loved Lyra's wisdom and compassion, her ability to see the bigger picture and bring people together. He loved Zara's courage and passion, her willingness to take risks and fight for what was right. On the last day of the trial, Jake stood before the Council of Elders again. This time, he felt confident about his decision. I have learned that love is not a limited resource, he said. A person can love two people deeply without loving either one less. Princess Lyra and Princess Zara are different people with different strengths, and I love them both for who they are. Elder Korvax's skin showed a pleased golden color. And can you handle the responsibility of being married to both our princesses? I believe I can, Jake replied. Not because I'm perfect, but because I understand that we'll face challenges together as a team. Lyra's wisdom, Zara's courage, and human adaptability together can solve problems that none of us could handle alone. The trial was over, but Jake knew that the real test was just beginning. The Council of Elders had approved Jake's completion of the trial of worthiness, but now came the hardest part of all. He had to decide whether to actually go through with marrying both Princess Lyra and Princess Zara. The weight of the decision pressed on him as he stood in his quarters aboard the horizon's edge. Looking out at the crystal city below, Admiral Kate Sullivan sat across from him, her expression serious. Jake, I need to ask you one more time. Are you absolutely sure about this? Once you marry into the Zellarian royal family, there's no going back. You'll be committed to this for the rest of your very long life. Very long life? Jake asked. The Zellarian medical technology can extend human lifespan to over 500 years, she explained. You'll be making a decision that will affect not just you, but generations of humans and Zellarians yet to be born. Jake nodded. He had learned about the life extension technology during his time at the palace. It was both exciting and terrifying to think about living for centuries. I've made my choice, he said. But I want to do this in a way that honors both human and Zellarian traditions. What do you mean? Jake walked to his desk and picked up a datapad where he had been making notes. I have an idea. Something that's never been done before. The next morning, Jake requested a meeting with the Emperor, both princesses, and the Council of Elders. When everyone had gathered in the great crystal chamber, Jake stood before them with a confidence that surprised even himself. Your Majesties, honored elders, he began. I accept the proposal to marry both Princess Lyra and Princess Zara, but I want to suggest something new, a ceremony that combines the best of both our cultures. Emperor Thane leaned forward with interest. His crystal skin was a curious yellow color. What do you propose? A triple ceremony, Jake said. A human wedding with Princess Lyra, a traditional Zellarian bonding ritual with Princess Zara, and a completely new ceremony that represents the union of our two species. The chamber was silent as everyone considered this unusual idea. Princess Lyra's skin was glowing golden with excitement, while Princess Zara showed orange curiosity mixed with silver anticipation. Tell us more, Elder Korvax said. Jake took a deep breath. The human wedding would follow Earth traditions, with rings and vows spoken in front of witnesses. It would be broadcast to Earth so my people can see that humans and Zellarians can join together in love. He turned to Princess Zara. The Zellarian bonding ritual would connect our life forces according to your ancient customs. I've been studying the ceremony, and I understand that it creates a spiritual link between the bonded pair. And the third ceremony? The Emperor asked. Something completely new, Jake said, his voice growing stronger. A ceremony that combines elements from both cultures and creates a new tradition for other interspecies couples who might follow. We would plant a tree from Earth in Zalarian soil, symbolizing how our peoples can grow together. We would exchange crystals from your world and metals from mine. We would speak vows in both languages and make promises that honor both our ways of life. The idea was so unprecedented that the council had to meet privately to discuss it. Jake waited nervously, with the two princesses in the garden where this whole situation had begun weeks ago. "I think it's a wonderful idea," Princess Lyra said, her skin warm gold. "It shows respect for everyone involved." "I like that we each get our own special ceremony," Princess Zara added, her skin bright orange. "It means we're not just sharing you, we're each bonding with you in our own way." "Are you both really okay with this?" Jake asked. "I mean, really okay, not just accepting it because you have to." The sisters looked at each other, and something passed between them that Jake was beginning to recognize. They were communicating in the way that only siblings could, with tiny expressions and shared understanding. "Jake," Princess Lyra said finally, "these past weeks have taught us something important. We're stronger together than we are apart. Our whole lives, we've been competing with each other. But working with you has shown us that we can be partners instead of rivals. Besides," Princess Zara added with a grin, "you're going to need both of us to handle being a Zalarian prince. The politics alone would drive one person crazy." When the council returned, Elder Korvax announced their decision. "The Council of Elders approves this triple ceremony. It shows wisdom and respect for both cultures. We believe it will create a strong foundation for the alliance between our peoples." The preparations for the ceremony took 2 weeks. Jake worked with teams from both species to plan something that had never been attempted before. The ceremony would take place simultaneously on Zalara Prime and Earth, connected by quantum communication technology so that both worlds could witness the historic event. Jake's family on Earth was shocked but supportive when they learned about the wedding. His sister Sarah sent a message saying, "Leave it to you to make first contact and come back with 2 wives. Mom is already planning to spoil your alien grandchildren." The day of the ceremony arrived with perfect weather. The 3 moons of Zalara Prime were aligned in the sky, which the Zalarians said was a sign of good fortune. Representatives from a dozen other alien civilizations had come to witness this first interspecies royal wedding. The ceremony began at dawn. Jake stood in the crystal amphitheater wearing a uniform that combined human military dress with Zalarian royal robes. Princess Lyra wore a gown of liquid starlight, while Princess Zara wore traditional warrior's robes that sparkled with embedded crystals. The human wedding came first. Jake and Princess Lyra exchanged rings made from earth gold and Zalarian crystal. They spoke vows that promised to love, honor, and support each other through all the challenges they would face as leaders of 2 very different peoples. "I promise to help bridge the gap between our worlds," Jake said, taking Lyra's hands. "I promise to learn from your wisdom and share my own knowledge freely." "I promise to be your partner in all things," Lyra replied, her skin glowing brighter than Jake had ever seen it. "I promise to help you navigate our world while never asking you to stop being human." The Zalarian bonding ritual followed. Jake and Princess Zara placed their hands on a crystal altar that amplified life energy. Jake felt a strange, tingling sensation as their life forces connected according to ancient tradition. "I promise to share your adventures and support your courage," Jake said to Zara. "I promise to protect you and stand by your side in any danger," Zara replied, her skin showing the silver and gold colors that meant deep spiritual connection. The final ceremony was the most emotional of all. Jake, Lyra, and Zara together planted a seedling from Earth's oldest oak tree in a special garden prepared with soil from both worlds. They spoke vows in both languages, promising to work together to create a future where humans and Zalarians could explore the galaxy as true partners. "Today we plant more than a tree," Jake said, his voice carrying to both worlds through the quantum link. "We plant the seed of friendship between species who were strangers just months ago, but who are now family." The celebrations lasted for 3 days. Jake found himself overwhelmed by the number of people from both worlds who wanted to congratulate him and his new wives. But the moment that meant the most to him came on the second evening, when he found Lyra and Zara working together in their new shared study, planning their first joint project as co-princesses. "What are you working on?" he asked. "A proposal." "For the first joint human-Zalarian colony," Lyra said, looking up from her datapad. "We want to establish a world where both species can live and work together." "And a training academy for interspecies diplomats," Zara added. "If more species are going to start forming alliances, they'll need people who understand how to navigate different cultures." Jake looked at his two wives and realized that his impulsive decision to save Princess Lyra's life had led to something far greater than he had ever imagined. He had not just gained a family, he had helped create a new future for two entire civilizations. 6 months later, Jake stood on the observation deck of the first joint human-Zalarian starship, watching as they approached a new star system that neither species had explored before. Princess Lyra was on the bridge, coordinating with both human and Zalarian crew members. Princess Zara was in the shuttle bay, preparing for the first landing mission. Jake smiled as he watched them work. The marriage that had started as a diplomatic complication had become the foundation for something wonderful. Humans and Zalarians were exploring the galaxy together, sharing knowledge and protecting each other as they encountered new worlds and new challenges. He touched the crystal pendant that Lyra had given him and the metal bracelet that was Zara's gift. Both reminded him that sometimes the most impossible situations led to the most amazing outcomes. And sometimes the best solution to any problem was the one that nobody had thought to try before.